Hello everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. Oh my gosh. It is like good morning. Gotta fix my iPad so that I can see comments. Okay. So I'm a little late this morning. I know it's weird, but it was really beautiful outside and we have a bunch of yard work to do. This is the kickoff of Mother's Day weekend, and where I live, that means it's planting flowers weekend. So that is what I'm doing. The rest of the day is yard work and planting flowers, and I tried to get a heads up, get going on that earlier this week, but it's just been a little too cold at night for my flowers to be out. And so today's the day I'm doing this. Anyway, I thought I'd take a few minutes and make this card with you this morning. I don't know, it's been a while since I've messed around with the postage dies, and I wanted to make a postage card. And then this Impressions Abloom is a new online exclusive that just started on the 6th. And the reason I chose this set is because what I like about it is there's not really coloring. So you have a solid and a shade, a solid and a shade, solid shade on every image. And so you can just use your inks. And if you need to make a fast card, that's a great way to do it. The dies that come with it look like this. And what's nice about that is you can just simply cut out, the image of the flower, or you can add this little, there's like it has a little sticky on the back still. It has this little texture piece in there, and it adds texture to your flower. So when you cut this all at once, it adds a little something to your image. So I think that's really cool. So I'm going to set these dies aside just a little bit while we stamp. The other stamp set I got out is this Weekend Adventures, which is one of the new, it's a coordinating stamp set that goes with the Weekend Adventures scrapbook set. But what I really like about it is it has these little images. So it has these little dots, this little heart, it has these little line X's, it has this little scatter elements. And, I am shocked that I'm saying this, but I miss having scatter elements in all of the stamp sets. Close to my heart was very good about having a little something in every stamp set, and I didn't have to always go searching for a little heart or a little dot or a little something. And I'm finding that I'm drawn to these sets that have these little pieces in them that I really like. So look in your stash and see what you've got, right? Okay. Let's see. Looking to make sure I have everything I need at the moment. I think I do. Okay. So I'm gonna just set that aside for a moment. And I went ahead and pulled off the images and put them on blocks, and this is kind of what I'm going for. I may change it up a little. We'll see. Okay, so I've just got some panels out here. Now, today I'm not working on my glass mat, and I'm not working on my my cushion, my paper cushion or anything. And whenever I do that, I need something cushy to stamp on so that my images will turn out good, because there is some just very tiny little irregularities in this wood surface. And so there's a couple of options. The Stampin' Up option that I've been using is this little silicone mat. Now you can find these little silicone mats all over. As a matter of fact, there may be one that came with your die machine that will work just fine. The other thing I have is like a big foam cushion that works really good. A magazine works really good. But basically you just need some kind of cushion on these solid images. It really does help. And so this is just scrap paper, and I'm going to do a base and some shade. Now I'm going to grab a second piece of scrap paper here. And basically what I want to do is ink up. And I am going, this is the solid piece, and I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm going to stamp onto my scrap paper, okay? And you're probably like, well, the darker one just looks better, Connie, you should do that. But I'm going to use the shade, and I want to use the same color. So I'm going to stamp off and stamp again. Just like that. And I'm going to do a whole bunch of flowers like this because I'm going to need them. These three, I'm going to put 3 in a bunch. Just like that. So I have those 3 in a bunch. This one's individual. Let's see what else I can come up with here. I'll put one here. And I think that's pretty good. I think I'm going to do a couple of just solid What's everybody else got going today? You guys, I know some of you work. I realize I'm not so removed from life that I don't understand it's Friday. But Fridays were always, even when I was working, Fridays were always days where we did chores and errands and stuff, because when we were both off, we took advantage of that time. Now with this stamp, you'll notice there's like 3 little petals here and then a very wide V. And that kind of helps me when I'm looking at this stamp. I'm looking for the 3 petals and the very wide V in there. And so it really does help to be able to identify that, so that when you go over the top, you're going over the 3 and doing the V, and you get that more solid look. Now I did this one on the one you get to see what it looks like when I do it on top of a solid on a solid. It doesn't show up very well. But these shaded, these second generation ones, you're going to see the image pop. So there you go. See how you just get that hint of blue petal in the background, and turning, 3 and V. And with these, it doesn't really matter if I get these perfect. The color I'm using right here is Balmy Blue. And I really like how this color is nice and soft. Isn't that neat? All right. So there's that one. And let me just clean off my desk here. All right. I really should be working on a surface of some kind, but I'm so lazy today. Let's see. All right, let's do centers. And for the center, I just have a little yellow And I'm going to do the same thing on the center. I'm going to stamp off, stamp in, stamp off, stamp in. I'm going to do that for all of these. And the reason I'm doing it this way is so that the shade will show up. If I wasn't using the shade, I would just stamp it, right? I mean, nothing wrong with just the solid center, but I just think it'll look nicer this way. This one I'm going to do solid. And I'm just going to make a bunch of these flowers. All right, I really like that. Now the last thing I need are some leaves. And I'm going to stamp off again and do that shade thing. So I'm going to stamp off and then I'm going to stamp on to the image. It's almost impossible to see. It's so light, but that's okay. It's going to look great. I'm not worried. I'm not worried. And I think that wide V may be the place where they had left it for the leaves. But since I'm just kind of going over things, I don't really care where the leaves show up. I just want some green on there. And so that's what I'm doing. All right. Now the shade part of this is really a cool stamp. It leaves the veins. And because I am going to cut these out and I'm going to do a little overlaying, I need to make a few plain flowers to use as an overlay. So these I'll show you in just a minute. And then I have one more piece of paper that I want to cut just some plain flowers. And I'm going to do these in that same blue. And I want to show you what that looks like. And then I also want to just use the inner part like that. Okay. I think I'm going to do those three. That works. All right. All our stamping is basically done except for our message. I don't know what message. I don't have a message on here that I want to use, but we could just do thanks so very much or something like that. And I think I'll do the message in black. I think my black is getting close to needing re-inked. It's like just a little bit dull. My favorite black is Versifying Claire. I really like the Memento, and I like the blacks that are carried by Stampin' Up, but with those blacks, I'm not as accustomed to using them because I get confused which ones work with markers, which ones work with watercolor. And so I've marked all of my inks with what works best for each thing because I just can't remember. And this one works for both, so I love it. These bigger flowers we'll definitely use again in the future. All right, moving that out of the way, I am going to cut a few things out. And so let's just start with these flowers that I made. The first thing I want to show you is, you know, just like on that, you've got the 3 petals in the deep V. And so that's what you're looking for when you cut 3 petals in a deep V. And then I am going to go ahead and put this in there as well. If I find that where it goes, okay, just like that. And so I'm definitely cutting that. And then I definitely want to cut my message with some postage. And so I'm just going to center that and run that through my machine. That's going to take me just a sec. My machine that I use is an Anna Griffin machine. It's the like mini Empress, and mini Empress, I don't know what it was. Anyway, it's awesome. It's just awesome. Okay, look at that cool detail in that flower, and see how it doesn't cut all the way through. Well, I guess it does cut all the way through, but boy, it just makes really cool dimension in there. It's not like a hole falls out or anything, which is really nice. I have 3 of these to cut, which is kind of annoying, and some postage. So I'm going to real quick run this one through again. Sorry. I normally kind of have these done, you know, before I go live. I think I am going to do that dimension thing on all of these. Actually, I really like it. I normally have all of these done and cut before I start. And today, you're just gonna have to fast forward, people, because it's just too hard. But anyway, I don't know. My morning's already been busy. And so there's 2, and I just need 3. So I'm going to do this one as well. And then I'll show you how I did the postage, because the postage is really the part, this part is not tricky. I mean, anybody can do this, right? But the postage is the part. Okay. So whenever I'm going to do a postage thing, I'm done with this flower. I start by looking at, I cut a piece that will go on the front of my card. So here's a card base. This I plan on putting on the front of my card. I think that will look really nice. Now, I know I want a message on here somewhere, right? So let's get out my dies and decide what else fits like a puzzle. And I usually start with one of the larger pieces, and either, you know, I'll put it here, I can put it here. I just mess around with it until I find something that I like. And then, you know, these kind of work together so that you can, you know, you can make these like this. You could do a square like that. That one looks nice too. I like it. I like that. And it's a little different than the one I did already. The other thing you could do is you could, you know, piece together smaller images like that. That one's really nice too. Do I have enough? 1, 2, 3. I think I have enough to do that. I think I'll do this one this time. Let's give it a whirl. All right. So then I get out my pieces that I stamped, right? And I look at how they will look on the image. You know, you kind of, since I did a cluster of 3 here, obviously that is going to look different. I could use this one instead and just have a whole flower and do a square here. So basically what I'm saying is mess around with it until you find something that you really like. And I like that. And I'm going to run that through my machine. So think about just random stamping a lot of images and then laying postage over it. The main thing you have to remember is to leave some white space between some of these, because you really do want enough space. Got to put these back or else I will go crazy later trying to find them. Okay. So leave enough space so that you can, you know, die cut different things. And remember, you can always, I mean, look, I could do this flower. I could do just a leaf print of some kind. You know what I mean? There's more options on that, even though it looks like garbage. I mean, it looks like I should throw it away now. I'm done. But there's definitely room for more. Okay. So I have my pieces, and I am going to, I can't even remember how I had these. Can't remember. Did I do it like this? I think I did it like this. Yeah. I like that a lot. Okay, so you just mess around with the puzzle, make it work however you want. Now there's a lot of blue showing in this background, and so what I did on my first card, leave that aside so I know what that looks like. I went ahead and I did like a random stamp kind of thing on here. Now remember, if you random stamp, I'm gonna put this down so I don't make a mess on my desk. Parts, like you'll have this message here. You don't need to put a stamp where you're gonna have other things. So you're just gonna kind of mess around with the areas where you think there's gonna be blank space. And don't forget to go off the edges, because the edges are definitely gonna show. And I'm just putting a couple of extra in there in case they peek out. All right, and then I realized I didn't do the centers of these 3 flowers. I really want to do those. And I think on these, instead of doing the base and shade, I'm just going to do the shade piece like that. All right. Ta-da! Now we're ready to assemble. Now we're ready to assemble. All right, so let's start by putting this on to here. I really like how that looks. I want these to pop up just a little bit. Now, I know it sounds really, really crazy, but these extra strips that I keep, I use them like, oh, I'm off camera, sorry, boom. These extra strips like this that I keep, I use them for layering so that I don't have to use all my dimensionals. Too weird? It's a little weird. But that way I use up my scraps, and they don't have to be white, which is really nice. You can use any color of scrap that you have, you know, in your stash. And basically I just glue on layers onto the back. I go through a lot of foam and dimensionals, I do, but what's cool about that is, okay, so here's one with a little tiny bit of dimension, and then here's one that's flat. And you can see the difference on the card. I think it's worth it. I think it makes it, you know, look special. And so I'm just gluing those on, and I'm sort of putting them into place where I think they'll look good. Now, the other thing that I told you, I really liked using the hearts and the dots and the stuff like that. And so I am going to show you a couple of things really quick of how I do those. So I have the dots, and where did I put the heart? I think I put the heart back on the sheet because I didn't want to lose it. It's like losable. Nope, I didn't put it back on the sheet. I don't know where I put that heart. It's around here. It's on a cube somewhere sitting on my desk. Anyway, let's do the dots. It's Friday. Okay, so I'm going to take these dots and see how there's extra white space on here. I'm just gonna squish those into that white space a little bit. And I like how that fills that space, but it doesn't make it look like too crazy. Those little tiny trinket bees would be super cute on this too. Maybe I'll do that instead of the heart, since I put my heart somewhere on my desk. If you saw my desk right now, that's all I can say. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and put these on. I want to try to turn them so that they have like the green more scattered out. Sorry, apparently I can't craft and chat at the same time. That's an issue. I don't know. I like that. All right. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to take these and I'm going to fluff them just a little. See how I'm curling the leaves a little bit? It gives them a little bit of dimension. And then I'm only putting glue at the center. And then I'm going to just put these on. And I want to turn them a little so that you see the image on the underside that I went to all that trouble to stamp. I mean, really, if you weren't going to have any of it show, there would be like, why do it, right? So there's that. I have a third one. I think I'm going to put that on the inside. I could go ahead and put it, you know, up here. Yeah, that looks nice too. But I think I want those bees on there. Okay, let me grab my bees. These are those tiny bee trinkets. Man, I'm in love with these things. What I'm not in love with is the little containers. I have trouble with them. I have trouble with them. Okay, I'm going to put a bee here and a bee here. I'm going to put a bee here. Let me get my little picker-upper tool. It's so much easier. And then the other thing that I did on my other card that I think adds to it a lot is I put a little shading on the words. And you can do that a couple of ways. You could just take a dauber and some ink and just smear. You could use a blending brush on there. What I like to do, I like it to look a little bit watercolory. And so I'm gonna take my ink and just make a little sploosh on here. And I've got water on my brush. I'm squeezing it. And mix it with that ink. And then I can test it, test it on my paper to make sure it's not like crazy dark or something, right? And then I'm just gonna swoosh across it like that. Ta-da, that is it. Wow. See, that's a pretty fast card, really. I mean, I basically cut it from scratch. Now, the other thing that I did on this card, if you have a little more time, hard to see on camera, but I put glitter on the insides of each of those flowers. You could use Wink of Stella, you can use stickles, which makes it more dimensional, which is really cool. But I like the bling, okay? And so I always add something to make it blingy. And I also added a little white thread right here. You know, the baker's twine pack had white in it. It would look fine with the like linen thread. I think that would look really nice, but it would be nice to have like a little bow or something wrapped around here. I could still do that. It's fiddly for on camera, but here I am messing around with a twine. I don't usually do that on camera because I have I have a trigger finger problem. And so my fingers don't always move the way I want them to. And so I have to, I just have to fiddle a lot when I make bows. I need to just go and have it taken care of and be done with it. But instead, I sit and mess with it. There. Nice, actually. That turned out not bad. Okay, so I'll tighten that up. The other thing I do with bows, just to make them a little bit more secure, is I do use my glue, and I put a dot of glue on the actual connection. This glue dries clear, and I don't want that ribbon to come undone. You can see, you can't see, but I did glue on this one also. Can't see it, but that way, look, it's really secure. It's not gonna fiddle, it's not going anywhere. It's not gonna untie. And so I do that a lot to my bows that I make. All right, and I'll trim that in a little bit. There's my card for today. I hope you like it. I'm gonna look at comments here. Color. The color is balmy blue, and it's close to my heart, Bluebird, which is, I think it's Azure Afternoon. It's actually Azure Afternoon cardstock, but then I used my Bluebird ink because I don't have Azure Afternoon ink for some reason yet. I'm slowly building my colors. And then the other yellow color I used was Daffodil Delight. And then the green, I think in close to my heart is green apple, but you could use lemon lime twist or granny apple green. or a combination of both. If you have both, you don't have to do that stamping off base and shade thing. You can just, you know, stamp one in a light color and then do the shade in the darker color. So which one do you like better? They're pretty similar, but I do like them both for different reasons. So I hope you like it. I also did a little black squiggle line on this one, and I know the card's all done now, but if you like to do black squiggle lines, it's not that hard. I don't want one on that one, but you know, basically you just draw a line. I find it easier to draw a line from me across the page. You need to experiment a little bit with how you like to draw lines, and then I just do I just do a little squiggle like this on each side. It looks cool, and you don't have to be an artist, but that's what I did. You can totally see that is exactly what I did. I just did a squiggle on 3 of those sides. I did a squiggle down here and on all 4 sides on that one. So if you just need a little something, sometimes that adds. So, all right, that's what I have today. Have fun, get out in the sunshine. It is absolutely gorgeous today. I am planting flowers and mowing yards and all that kind of stuff. Steve and I are doing that. We thought about going to the local town-wide garage sales because we always enjoy rummaging through everybody else's garbage, I guess. I don't know. I just like garage sales. I just do. And I often find craft supplies for a good deal. So it's kind of fun to go. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.